she cried in front of me. Her voice cracked, her shoulders shook, and her hands clutched at mine as if the world was falling apart. "Please," she whispered. "Don't leave me alone in this. I can't handle it." Her tears dripped onto my sleeve, warm and heavy. My chest tightened and I pulled her closer, telling her it was okay, that I'd stand by her no matter what. In that moment I believed every word, every sob, every tremble in her body. I thought I was holding someone broken. I thought I was protecting someone who needed me. But later, when she thought I was gone, I heard it. A sharp laugh, careless, mocking. Her voice was steady now, strong. Nothing like the fragile act she'd shown me minutes earlier. Through the thin wall, I caught her words as clear as if she'd said them to my face. "He believed it. What an idiot. He'll do anything I want now." The laugh that followed was long, cruel, and twisted. My blood froze. My heart dropped into my stomach. Everything I had felt, the sympathy, the guilt, the loyalty, suddenly felt like chains she had placed around my neck. I leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. I wanted to burst in, to demand answers, to confront her for turning my care into her game. But I didn't. I stayed quiet, listening to her voice dance with amusement as she spoke to someone else on the phone. "Yeah, it worked. He actually thinks I'm falling apart. He's so desperate to play the hero, he'll never see it coming." My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. Every word was a knife, slicing into the trust one had built for years. The image of her face stained with tears wouldn't leave my mind, but now I saw it differently. Not as a sign of pain, but as a mask. A performance. A trick. And I was the fool who clapped for her act, the fool who rushed to help. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My voice was buried under the weight of her laughter. I realized, standing there in silence, that this wasn't the first time. No. Her stories, her sudden breakdowns, the way she always seemed to need saving right when it mattered most. It all lined up. She had been weaving a net around me, and I had been stepping into it willingly. I backed away from the wall, my mind burning with betrayal. Her fake tears had unlocked something inside me. Something sharp, cold, and unshakable. I knew one thing: she thought she had me trapped. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. Not anymore. And soon, she'd learn what it felt like when the mask was ripped off in front of everyone she thought she could control. The next morning she acted as if nothing had happened. Her face lit up with the same sugary smile, her eyes soft with that fake innocence she had perfected. "Thank you for listening to me last night," she said, sliding a cup of coffee toward me. "You're the only one who understands." Her tone was smooth, rehearsed, almost too gentle. I forced a nod, hiding the storm inside me. She thought I was still fooled, still chained to her lies. But inside I was rewinding every detail of the night before. Her trembling hands, her forced sobs, the way she had clung to me like a drowning victim, only to laugh about it the second I turned my back. She kept piling it on. At breakfast she leaned closer, whispering how hard things were, how no one else cared about her, how the world was unfair. She looked me in the eye, as if daring me to call her bluff. I played along. I said, "I'm here for you," though my voice tasted bitter. I watched how she almost smiled when she saw me fold again. That smile wasn't gratitude. It was victory. As the days passed, her performance grew louder, grander. In front of my parents, she would suddenly burst into tears and cling to me, claiming I was the only one who stood by her. My mom would frown at me, muttering, "Be patient with her. She's fragile." My dad would sigh, "She needs support right now. Don't abandon her." They didn't hear what I heard. They didn't know the sharp laugh behind the closed door, the smug tone when she told her friend, "Watch how easy it is to get him to bend." And bend I did, at least on the surface. She made me run errands for her, cover for her lies, lend her money she promised to pay back but never did. Each time she put on her act, crocodile tears shimmering on her cheeks, I saw it for what it was, a trick. Yet I pretended to believe. Every fake sob became a rope tightening around her neck, though she didn't know it yet. Still, it cut me. Every night when I lay in bed, I replayed her words. He believed it. They rang in my head like a curse. How many times had she said that about me? How many times had she fooled me into carrying her burdens while she stood tall behind my back, mocking the weight I carried for her? I thought back to when we were kids, how she'd cry over broken toys, only for me to give her mine. How she'd fake stomach aches to get out of trouble, pointing at me as the guilty one. Everyone thought she was delicate. Everyone thought she was the victim. And I was the shadow holding her up. The more I remembered, the colder I became. My pity turned to disgust. My love turned to something else, something sharper, darker. She was building a tower of lies, and I realized I had the power to kick out its foundation. But I couldn't move too soon. I had to wait. I had to watch. One night she slipped again. She thought I was asleep when she whispered into her phone. "He's so stupid. Honestly, it's almost boring now. He doesn't even fight back. He just believes. Always believes." Then she laughed, that same cruel laugh that first woke me up to her game. My stomach churned, but my face stayed calm when she peeked in to check if I was awake. I breathed steady, my body still, pretending to be lost in dreams. Inside I was burning. Her fake tears had once blinded me, but now they fueled me. Every lie she told was a brick, and I was quietly building a wall inside myself. She thought she was untouchable, that her act was flawless. But cracks were forming, and soon everyone would see what I saw when the lights went out and the mask slipped. She believed she was playing me. She didn't realize I had already stopped being the fool in her story. I was writing a new ending. And this time she would cry real tears. Her games grew bolder. She didn't just use me for errands anymore. She began weaving her lies into every part of my life. One evening, she told our parents I had shouted at her. She sniffled, clutching her arm as if I had grabbed her too hard. "He scared me," she whispered, her voice trembling just enough to be believable. My mom's eyes filled with rage. "How could you treat her like that?" she snapped. My dad's voice was heavier, colder. "I raised you better than this." I stood there, stunned, words choking in my throat. I hadn't touched her. I hadn't even raised my voice. But she lowered her head, let tears slide down her cheeks, and the room turned against me. When everyone stormed away, her lips curled into the faintest smirk. She brushed past me and whispered, "They'll always believe me. You? You're nothing but the villain in my story." That sentence carved into me deeper than any wound. I wanted to shout, to rip the mask off her face, but all I could do was stare at her walking away, her fake sobs still echoing in the hall. The lies kept stacking. She told her friends I was obsessed with her problems, that I hovered around her like a pathetic shadow. She said I was too weak to live without her, too desperate for her approval. I overheard one of her friends giggling. "Wow, he really is pathetic, huh?" My chest tightened, but I stayed silent. Every insult, every twist of the truth, I tucked away inside me like a blade. Soon even my friends began to doubt me. "Man, you should chill," one said. "She says you're always angry." Angry? I hadn't been angry. I had been quiet, careful, broken. But her voice was louder than mine. Her tears, her trembling hands, her quivering lips, they painted a picture of me that didn't exist. And everyone saw it. Everyone but me. At night, I sat alone in my room, staring at the ceiling, hearing her laughter echoing in my mind. That laugh, the one I had first overheard, never left me. It became the soundtrack of my nights. He believed it. Those words were poison. They ate away at the boy who once wanted to protect her, replacing him with someone colder, sharper. I started watching her closely. The way she could summon tears in seconds. The way her shoulders would shake in rhythm, like a rehearsed performance. The way she would glance sideways to make sure her audience was watching. I noticed her pauses, her dramatic silences, her gasps at just the right time. She wasn't just pretending to cry. She was directing a play, and everyone around her was a willing actor. Everyone but me. One evening she slipped again. She was on the phone in the kitchen, thinking I was outside. Her voice was light, mocking. "It's so easy. I just say I'm scared, I just cry a little, and suddenly everyone jumps to protect me. He bends, my parents scold him, and I walk away free. Honestly, it's a gift." My stomach turned. My hands trembled. But I didn't walk in. Not yet. I needed more. The next morning, she accused me of stealing money from her purse. She made sure to cry in front of my parents, shaking her head, whispering, "Why would he do this to me? I trusted him." My father slammed his fist on the table, shouting that I had lost all respect. My mother turned her back, muttering, "Shameful." And she clutched her purse tighter, eyes glistening with those cursed fake tears. That was the breaking point. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. I let the silence hang heavy, because I knew words would never pierce the armor she had built out of lies. Instead, I watched her carefully. Her tears slid down perfectly timed, her voice cracked in the right places, and then, just for a split second, her lips twitched upward when no one was looking. That was when I knew. She wasn't just lying. She was enjoying it. The weight inside me shifted. My anger cooled, hardened into something sharper. She thought I was cornered, but she didn't know I was already stepping out of the trap. For the first time, I didn't feel like the fool in her story. I felt like the storm gathering outside her window, quiet but unstoppable. She believed she had written the ending. She didn't realize the story wasn't finished. Not yet. The night everything cracked open started quietly. She had just finished another of her performances in the living room, pretending to sob after catching me hiding her phone. My parents had fallen for it again, shaking their heads at me while she buried her face in her hands. I stood in silence, staring at her trembling shoulders, memorizing every twitch. But this time, instead of arguing back, I asked calmly, "Do you want me to apologize in front of everyone?" Her head snapped up, eyes wet but sparkling. She nodded slowly, savoring her victory. "Yes," she whispered. "You should." My mom folded her arms, satisfied. My dad muttered something about finally learning respect. I agreed with a soft voice, lowering my head. But inside I wasn't bowing, I was setting the stage. The next evening, I invited them all to sit in the living room. "I want to say something," I began. She perched on the couch like a queen waiting for tribute, her eyes already glistening as if she could summon tears in advance. My parents sat close, their hands folded, waiting for me to beg forgiveness. My heart hammered, but my face was calm. I took out my phone and placed it on the table. One press of a button and her voice filled the room. That laugh. That cruel, mocking laugh. The recording was sharp, clear, undeniable. He believed it. What an idiot. "He'll do anything I want now." Then another. "It's so easy. I just cry and they all jump. Honestly, it's a gift." The sound cut through the room like glass shattering. My mother's face went pale, her hand froze in midair. My father blinked, as if he hadn't heard correctly. But she jumped up, her eyes wide, her lips trembling, not with fake tears but with panic. "That's not me," she stammered. "That's not," he edited it, her voice cracked, but this time not in performance. This time it was fear. I let the silence sit heavy before playing the last clip, the one she said the night she thought I was asleep. "He's so stupid. Honestly, it's almost boring now. He doesn't even fight back." The words hung in the air like a curse she could no longer take back. My parents' eyes slowly shifted from me to her. My mother whispered, "You lied." My father's jaw tightened, his fists clenched. She tried to cry then. Oh, she tried, but the sound was hollow, broken. No one moved to comfort her. No one believed her anymore. I stood tall, my voice steady. Every tear she ever shed was a lie. Every story, every accusation, every time you turned against me, it was all her game. And you let her play it. My father started to speak, but his words faltered. My mother shook her head, whispering, I didn't know." She collapsed onto the couch, her face buried in her hands, but this time no tears came. Only silence. The mask had cracked, and behind it was emptiness. The following days were colder than winter. My parents avoided her, their disappointment heavier than any punishment. Friends stopped calling once they realized the truth. Even her closest allies turned away, ashamed they had laughed with her at my expense. Her kingdom of lies had burned to the ground, and she was left alone in the ashes. I didn't celebrate. There was no joy in watching someone drown in the water they poured on themselves. But there was relief. For the first time, I didn't feel like the fool in her story. I felt free. One evening, I walked past her door and heard muffled sobs. Real ones this time. No audience, no performance, just broken, hollow cries. And for the first time I didn't stop, didn't knock, didn't bend. I let her cry alone. Because those were her own tears now, and they finally belonged to her. I stepped outside into the cool night air, breathing deep. The silence was no longer heavy, it was clean. And though the scars of her lies still lived inside me, I knew they no longer owned me. Her fake tears had built the story, but in the end, it was her real tears that closed it.